the game changer for your garden. Let me show you something that will completely change how you think about vegetable gardening. Forget everything you know about replanting every spring. Forget spending weeks preparing soil for annual crops that vanish at the first frost. What if your garden could produce fresh vegetables for more than a decade without you replanting a single thing? Before we get into the details, I want to ask you something important. If you're watching this content on backyard crops, please take a moment to smash that like button. Your support helps us create more videos like this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. We release new gardening techniques and plant guides every single week. Subscribe to join thousands of gardeners who are transforming their yards into year-round food sources. The secret I'm about to share with you involves perennial vegetables. These aren't just plants that come back. They're your garden's best investment. Let me walk you through the ones that have changed everything for me. Starting with spectacular beauty, globe artichokes. When you mention stunning plants that also happen to feed your family, globe artichokes deserve top billing. These plants aren't just productive, they're genuinely gorgeous. That blue-green foliage creates an architectural presence that makes any garden space feel intentional and impressive. Growing from seeds takes forever. I learned this the hard way. Your best option is buying young plants or rooted specimens from a nursery. This approach gives you months of advantage right from the start of the season. I position mine in areas that get consistent, strong sunlight throughout daylight hours. The soil absolutely must drain well. This isn't optional for artichokes. When you're planning your spacing, think big. These plants need about 3 feet between each one. That's roughly 1 meter of space. I know they look small and unimpressive when you first plant them. Don't let that fool you. Give these plants a few months, and they transform into substantial plants that genuinely need all that room to reach their potential. During that crucial first year, keep pulling weeds constantly. Weeds are thieves. They steal water and nutrients that belong to your artichokes. Water regularly through the summer months whenever the soil feels dry. This consistent moisture makes a noticeable difference in how the plant develops. When spring rolls around the next year, add a thick mulch layer around each plant. This mulch serves double duty. It stops new weeds from getting established, and as it breaks down, it feeds the soil with organic matter. This nutritional boost supports all that vigorous new growth. Living in a cold region? Once the foliage dies back in autumn, protect the crown. Pile straw or compost over it to shield the plant from winter's harshest moments. The edible part is actually the flower bud, not the flower itself. Wait until it reaches roughly golf ball size, but harvest it before it opens and starts flowering. Steaming or boiling these buds until completely tender is the traditional method. When you sit down to eat, pull off each individual scale, dip it in your favorite sauce, and enjoy the tender flesh at the base. Once you've worked through all the scales, you reach the prize, the heart. That center section is the most tender, most delicious part of the entire bud. Here's a bonus. You often get a second harvest later in the season. After your main production run, additional buds form. Let some of these flower. I'm completely serious when I say that globe artichoke flowers might be the most attractive plant for bees in existence. Watching bees visit these enormous purple blossoms is absolutely mesmerizing. If you're enjoying this information about perennial vegetables, share this video with a gardening friend who needs to see it. Drop a comment below telling me which vegetable excites you most. The celery alternative, cardoons. Meet the artichoke's close cousin. Cardoons grow in exactly the same conditions as artichokes. They demand plenty of sunshine and soil that drains properly. These requirements are non-negotiable. The big difference is what part you harvest. Instead of buds, you're gathering the stems. They genuinely resemble bunches of celery sitting in your garden bed. This is actually perfect for expanding your options. You can prepare cardoon stems just like celery. Bake them, add them to gratins, throw them into soups, or prepare them however you normally use celery. It's a fantastic approach when you want to diversify your vegetables without changing your growing conditions. Perfect for cool climates. Rhubarb. If your garden tends toward cooler temperatures and wetter soil, rhubarb becomes your answer. This plant thrives where other vegetables struggle. It's remarkably tough, incredibly reliable, and continues producing year after year with hardly any fussing from you. Rhubarb performs best when winter temperatures stay below 40 degrees Fahrenheit and summer temperatures stay below 75 degrees. Since rhubarb stays in one location permanently, planted to the side of your garden or at the far end. This way, it won't interfere with your annual vegetable planting and growing spaces. Pick a full sun location, though it can tolerate partial shade situations. Prepare your soil by working in generous amounts of compost or well-rotted animal manure. Loamy soil is ideal, but rhubarb can manage in most soil types as long as drainage is adequate. Add lots of organic matter to boost fertility so your plant will thrive for years. Purchase 1-year-old rhubarb crowns from a garden center or online seller. When planting, position the crowns so the eyes sit about 2 inches below the soil surface. The buds should face upward. Space individual plants between 2 and 4 feet apart, with 3 to 4 feet between rows. That first growing season is a waiting game. Don't harvest any stalks during year 1. In year 2, take only minimal harvests. This protection allows your plants to establish strong underground systems. Overcrowding is something many rhubarb gardeners face, and it leads to disappointing growth and weak harvests. Apply a generous mulch layer of straw to retain moisture and prevent weeds from establishing. Your rhubarb needs 1 inch of water each week during the active growing period. Every spring, apply another layer of well-rotted compost, roughly 2.5 inches deep, around each plant. Be careful not to bury the crown itself. That can cause rot and kill the plant. When fall arrives, remove all the old plant material. Once the ground freezes solid, cover rhubarb with 2 to 4 inches of organic mulch. Well-rotted compost works wonderfully. Remove flower stems the moment they appear. Flowering consumes energy that could otherwise support root development and next season's harvest quality. After the 3rd year, your harvest window opens. This window runs 8 to 10 weeks, typically through midsummer. Cut stalks when they reach between 12 and 18 inches long and at least 3/4 of an inch thick. Grab the base of the stalk, then pull with a gentle twisting motion. Never harvest more than 1/3 of the stems from any single plant during any one picking session. Only the stalks are edible. The rhubarb leaves are toxic due to an irritant called oxalic acid. Make absolutely certain that leaves never make it onto your dinner table. Every 3 or 4 years, dig up your rhubarb roots and divide them. Do this during dormancy in early spring or late fall. Each division needs at least 1 strong bud. Rhubarb plants can live 15 years or longer with proper care. For earlier harvests of sweeter, paler, more tender stalks, cover plants with a forcing jar, tall bucket, or dustbin in midwinter. The stems develop in darkness, creating that special tender quality. Choose an early variety, like Temperley Early. Only for strong, healthy plants. Once stalks emerge, they grow rapidly. Check frequently. They'll be ready to harvest 4 to 8 weeks after you cover them. After harvesting the first round of 4 stems, remove the covering and let the plant's remaining stems develop normally. Never force the same plant in consecutive years. Good red stalk varieties include Canada Red, Crimson Red, McDonald, and Valentine. Red varieties often produce thinner, fewer stalks though. Victoria is a green stalk variety that performs extremely well, producing thicker stalks very reliably. Rhubarb rarely has insect problems. 2 fungal diseases occasionally show up, Ascocha rei and Romularia rei, but manage them by removing infected stalks and destroying all leaves after the first hard frost. Crown rot develops when drainage is poor, leading to weak, spindly stems. When crown rot appears, dig out infected plants and burn them. Don't replant rhubarb in locations where crown rot previously occurred.
The clever perennial leek, Babington's leek. This is genuinely special. Babington's leek is a perennial variety that produces tiny bulblets. It brings a unique flavor that combines garlicky qualities with traditional leek characteristics. I'm starting mine indoors in containers of general-purpose potting soil. While you can plant bulblets directly outdoors, starting indoors gives superior control. It protects the tender plants from excess winter moisture during that vulnerable first year. Plus, And this is honestly important. Starting indoors keeps my dog from finding them and doing whatever mysterious things he finds appealing about leeks. Plant each bulblet roughly 1 inch deep. I'll grow them in containers until they develop decent root systems, then transplant them outside in spring. Space them about 6 inches apart outdoors. This spacing creates a nice full clump rather than scattered individual plants spread across your garden. Leave your newly planted Babington's leeks completely alone during that entire first year. This waiting period is absolutely essential. The plants need time to establish themselves and build substantial bulbs beneath the soil surface. Patience now leads to much stronger plants later. From the second spring forward, begin cutting stems at ground level. The bulb underneath stays intact and keeps expanding. It's an incredibly sustainable system that keeps producing indefinitely. Here's where it becomes truly clever. In early summer, the plants send up flower stalks containing tiny bulbils. These baby bulbs either fall to the ground naturally, or the weight of the stalk bends it down until those bulbils touch soil. Once they're in contact with earth and get moisture, they start growing. Your clump of Babington's leeks gradually expands across your garden without you doing anything.
Other perennial allium plants. While you're experimenting with perennial leeks, explore these other perennial onion family plants as well. Welsh onions. Continuous green onion production. Welsh onions, also called Japanese bunching onions or spone leeks, are perennial plants that never form bulbs. They create clumps of green onions year after year. They offer a mild, chive-like flavor and develop into beautiful perennial evergreen clumps. After several months in the ground, they actually form small bulbs. Plant Welsh onions in full sun and rich soil that drains well but stays moist. Your soil pH should fall between 6.2 and 6.8. You can sow seeds directly into prepared beds or start them indoors in March. Space them between 8 and 10 inches apart. They're trouble-free plants that aren't heavy feeders. If you've prepared your soil with compost, you won't need additional feeding throughout the entire growing season. Starting in June through October, when stems reach about pencil thickness and stand around 6 inches tall, carefully dig up whole plants and harvest what you need. Replant any stems you don't need and they'll continue growing. Alternatively, simply trim the green leaves with scissors, leaving the bulbs in the soil. New stems emerge within a few weeks, providing continuous harvests. Minimize weeds since they compete with your onions. Mulch with aged compost or grass clippings in late spring and summer to keep moisture in the soil. Welsh onions are generally pest-free and very hardy, often keeping their leaves through most of winter. In cold regions, they die back to underground bulbs in winter and regrow when spring arrives. Use Welsh onions fresh and uncooked for best flavor. They lose almost all taste when dried. However, you can chop leaves into 1 centimeter lengths, place them in ice cube containers with water, freeze them, and defrost as needed. Egyptian walking onions, the garden's most interesting perennial. Egyptian walking onions, also called tree onions or topset onions, are absolutely fascinating perennial alliums. They're hardy to -24 degrees Fahrenheit and grow in USDA zones 3 through 10. The walking name comes from their unique growth habit. Instead of traditional flowers, they produce clusters of small bulbils at the stem's top. As these bulbils grow heavier, the stem bends over and flops down until the bulbils touch the ground. There, they root and create new plants, literally making your onion patch walk across the garden. Plant bulbils 2 inches deep and between 6 and 12 inches apart in well-drained soil high in organic matter. Your soil pH should fall between 6.2 and 6.8. Spring or fall planting both work well. If you're growing them densely for harvesting as scallions, plant them closer. The onions are hardy and emerge in early spring before most other edibles. Seeing those green spikes push through the earth in February is absolutely joyful. Egyptian walking onions are genuinely low maintenance. Keep weeds minimal to reduce competition. Avoid overwatering or letting soil become soggy. They dislike wet conditions like most onions. In late winter and early spring, cut the tender green shoots and use them like scallions or chives. In midsummer through fall, cut and separate the top bulbs to use like shallots, garlic, or chives.
You can even harvest the main bulbs in fall, using them as small onions or leeks. The flavor falls somewhere between onion and garlic, pungent and spicy. Use them raw in salads, infuse them in oil, sauté them in butter, or prepare them however you like. Propagation is incredibly easy. Simply break off a bulb from the top and plant it. In very cold climates, apply light winter mulch and use a high nitrogen fertilizer in spring. These onions are remarkably resistant to pests and diseases. Thrips occasionally bother young plants, but healthy mature plants resist them. Onion flies are usually only problematic during very wet seasons. Hand-picked slugs or use approved slug control products if needed. Divide clumps every few years to keep them vigorous and productive. Egyptian walking onions make excellent companions for most fruits and vegetables. Plant them on the south side of fruit trees as a natural pest deterrent. They're one of the few plants that thrive near walnut trees where jugulum and walnut roots prevents most plants from growing. They'll flourish there with sufficient sunlight. Avoid planting their brassicas like cabbage, kale, or broccoli since they share common pests. Make sure you're subscribed to Backyard Crops so you don't miss more perennial vegetable guides. Share this video with someone starting their first vegetable garden.
The year-round harvester, perennial kale. This is genuinely one of my absolute favorite perennial vegetables. Perennial kale reaches remarkable heights, sometimes as tall as a grown person. Here's the beauty of it. Regular harvesting keeps it whatever height you prefer. You maintain complete control. The cold hardiness is incredible. This plant simply shrugs off frost, freezing temperatures, and harsh conditions that eliminate annual kales. It's genuinely tough. Caterpillars might nibble the leaves, but the plant recovers so completely you barely notice any damage. The best part? You can harvest fresh, delicious kale almost all year long. Need greens in January? Cut some kale. Want salad in July? Your perennial kale supplies it. Fresh harvests are available whenever you need them. The best method to introduce perennial kale uses cuttings from established side shoots. I work with chunky cuttings approximately 10 inches long. These came already professionally prepared. Here's what proper preparation looks like. The bottom is cut right below a leaf node, and the lower leaves are completely removed. This decreases water loss through evaporation, which means less stress on the cutting. Only the top leaves remain. Place these cuttings in containers filled with general-purpose potting soil. The key is maintaining that soil consistently moist, not waterlogged, just moist. This encourages strong root development. Position the containers somewhere bright and warm, but away from harsh direct sunlight. Once they've developed roots and grown a bit more, you'll transplant them outside in spring. Consider trying Tontandine kale, which I'm currently growing. You have other options worth exploring. Babington's kale is excellent and widely available. Ethiopian kale thrives in warmer climates. It's perfect if you're in a hotter region. Sutherland kale comes from Scotland's crofting communities, so it's incredibly tough, developed for serious cold and wind. Growing heritage varieties like this connects you to real gardening history.
The potato alternative is oca, New Zealand yam. Oca might be my single favorite perennial discovery. Here's why. It grows as easily as potatoes, but oca doesn't suffer from any of the pests and diseases that constantly plague potato gardeners. You prepare oca exactly like potatoes. Boil it, bake it, or fry it. But oca offers something special. Shave them raw into salads for a wonderful lemony tang. The leaves possess that same lemony brightness and make excellent fresh salad components. You essentially get 2 harvests from each plant. Since oca isn't frost hardy, start tubers early indoors in containers, then plant outside after your reason's last frost date. Space plants about 3 feet apart. They need adequate room to develop properly. Oca doesn't form tubers until autumn arrives. Through the summer months, it grows leafy and green. Then, as days shorten and temperatures drop, the plant suddenly develops tubers. This means you're harvesting in late fall, typically after the first frost has killed the foliage. Dig them up, dry them completely, and store them in a cool, dry place just like potatoes. They store incredibly well. Keep some tubers aside each season for next year's planting. This means next year, you're not buying new seed ochre. You're using your own homegrown stock.
Another tuber option, Jerusalem artichokes. These Jerusalem artichokes, also called sunchokes, came from my grocery store. I'm just showing you the size and texture. Right now it's autumn, which is too late for planting. Come spring, I'll get these in the ground. When spring arrives, I'll plant these approximately 3 inches deep and space them roughly 1 foot apart. After planting, I'll water them thoroughly and let them grow throughout the season. These plants are members of the sunflower family, and they grow just as tall and impressive. They develop beautiful flowers too, another bonus for garden aesthetics. Once they die back the following autumn, you dig them up and use them just like potatoes. Bake them, boil them, or prepare them however you normally use potatoes.
The ultimate investment, asparagus. If I've been saving the best for last, this is absolutely it. Asparagus is literally the royalty of vegetables. Yes, you need patience, genuine, real patience, but the reward is absolutely worth the wait. Asparagus demands free-draining soil and complete sunshine. Choose your asparagus bed location with serious thought, because once it's planted, you won't touch it again for 20 years or longer. This is permanent planting. The easiest approach uses dormant roots or crowns, available starting in early spring. Buy them immediately when you see them available. Fresh crowns are superior to stored ones. Prepare your soil by thoroughly removing all weeds and digging it over deeply. Mix in generous amounts of well-rotted manure or compost. This creates the rich, nutritious foundation that asparagus demands. Dig a trench approximately 1 foot wide and 8 inches deep. Create a little ridge or mound running down the trench's center. Spread each crown's roots over this ridge like fingers opening. Space crowns about 18 inches apart. Maintain that same 18-inch spacing when digging your next trench. Backfill with soil and water thoroughly to settle everything. Add a generous mulch layer of well-rotted manure or compost. This suppresses weeds and feeds the crown as it establishes. Here's the crucial part. Resist the temptation to cut any spears for at least 2 complete years. I know it's difficult. You want those first harvests, but those early years are about building the underground crown system. Cutting spears now significantly reduces the plant's future production potential. From the 3rd spring forward, harvest spears as they emerge. You have approximately 6 to 8 weeks, roughly until midsummer, when cutting is appropriate. After midsummer, stop harvesting and let remaining stems develop their ferny foliage. That green growth recharges the crown's energy reserves for next year's production. Watch for asparagus beetles. These insects chew notches in the spears, causing crooked growth. Control them by hand-picking or knocking them into soapy water. At season's end, clear away all dead foliage. This removes the places where pests overwinter. Beyond asparagus beetle, these plants are largely pest-free. It's one of their fantastic advantages. Additional perennial vegetables worth growing. The vegetables covered here are simply the beginning. Many other perennial vegetables exist for experimentation. Some are also ornamental plants traditionally grown in flower borders. Hostas, for instance, have tender young leaves that are edible. Daylily flower buds are delicious when prepared correctly. My strongest recommendation: always research any plant before eating it. Perform proper due diligence to ensure it's safe and that you're preparing it correctly. Safety always comes first.
Your garden's future starts now. Growing perennial vegetables completely transforms your entire gardening practice. These plants offer incredible value. They eliminate replanting, they fill seasonal gaps in your harvest, they're beautiful garden additions, and once established, they need far less work than annual vegetables. Whether you're drawn to the architectural beauty of artichokes, the clever self-propagating nature of Babington's leeks and Egyptian walking onions, the year-round versatility of perennial kale, or the patience-rewarding quality of asparagus, there's a perennial vegetable perfect for your specific garden and climate. Start small if you're new to perennials. Pick 1 or 2 varieties that genuinely appeal to you. Give them proper establishment care, and you'll soon understand why gardeners become passionate about these plants. They're the gift that keeps on giving, year after year, with minimal fuss. Before you go, please subscribe to Backyard Crops. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Drop a comment below telling me which perennial vegetable you're most excited to try. And share this video with your gardening friends. Together, we're building a community of gardeners who grow smarter, not harder.